Greetings everyone and welcome. I'm your host Captain Ryan. Today's video comes to us courtesy of Yakum Sirhan. I'm just going to call you Sirhan from now on. And Sirhan is playing in the Tier 10 German battle wagon Hindenburg here in World of Warships. As the battle gets underway, it's Sea of Fortune and it's Domination Match Mode. And Sirhan has spawned back up behind what would be the C cap point. Now you'll notice that he's technically not headed towards the C cap point or the B cap point. Instead, he's going to take it quite wide here as he pushes around the C cap point. Friendly Destroyer has pushed up and is pushing towards the C cap point. You'll notice this game has a very low number of destroyers. It's both a good and a bad thing. And the match is obviously a Tier 10 battle. Now, a couple of things to note about the Hindenburg. It has a lot of guns, 12 8-inch guns, and they are auto-loaded. So they have a very fast rate of fire. Not as fast as the Des Moines, also at Tier 10, but still very quick, and because you've got 12 of them, you get a lot more rounds out at a time. The arcs are also flatter, and the shell velocities a lot faster, so your shells are going to reach their designated target a lot quicker. In this particular case, firing off shots at the Richelieu. Now, Sirhan is firing high explosive, and this is something that I see a lot of German cruiser players forget that they have. German cruisers, and just in general, German ships, are known for having particularly good armor piercing. But remember, the high explosive does pretty good damage as well, and if you're firing against an armored target that's angled, something like a battleship, firing the high explosive is a good way to get some early damage done, especially getting those fires set. Now, speaking of setting fires, Sirhan managed to set a fire on that Richelieu, and that guy, well, one fire burning, he put it out. Given the high rate of fire that this ship is capable of putting out, that's going to be a bad decision for that battleship. And even worse for that battleship, he nearly got hit by a torpedo. If he had gotten hit by a torpedo, it would have caused flooding, and he would now be flooding as well as be on fire yet again. If you're in a battleship, let the fire burn and take damage control on 2 in order to reduce the length of time that fires will burn. Now, again, Sirhan still firing the high explosive here. He's got a Des Moines here who's also going to help bring shots out there, but you can see the flight time difference in these shells. Both of these shots leave basically at the same time, but Sirhan's shots reach the Richelieu first. That gives you an indicator just how much these flat arcs help that shell velocity. Now, Sirhan's team has lost a destroyer early on here, but because there are only 2 destroyers in the game total, losing one of your destroyers may not be that big of a factor. It does, of course, depend on the destroyer that is lost. Usually, though, the team does gain the destroyer advantage early in the battle and goes on to win the battle. Surprisingly enough, Sirhan's getting away with effectively sitting out here open, and the enemy battleships aren't particularly interested in shooting at him. Of course, the Richelieu decides he's going to go ahead and take shots. Luckily, most of those miss, and the ones that do, bounce. The Hindenburg does have particularly good armor, and you'll find, if you're in this ship, that you tend to bounce more shots from larger caliber guns and cruiser caliber guns more consistently than you would in other cruisers. You really can treat this cruiser more like a battle cruiser than anything else. Think of it like the German version of the Moskva. Richelieu finally dead. Unfortunately, Sirhan didn't manage to secure the kill on that battleship, which is a little bit disappointing, but he did do a good amount of damage so far at 39,000. But now, something that I want to point out here, if we look at the situation. Sirhan is way back in the backfield. Yes, the Hindenburg's got good gun range, but with the high rate of fire, the decent armor, the decent secondaries, the good anti-aircraft, and the fact that this ship has 4 torpedo launchers, 2 on each side, this ship really excels getting up close and personal. Additionally, getting up close and getting near your destroyers provides your destroyers a significant amount of support if they encounter an enemy destroyer, especially one that's got full health, that they might not be able to take out on their own. So if you're in a cruiser player and you've got a solid cruiser like the Hindenburg, like the Moskva, or the Des Moines, push up close to your destroyers. You don't have to push all the way up, you don't need to go point-blank range and toe-to-toe with anybody, but you definitely want to put yourself in a position where you'll be able to support them and provide additional firepower when dealing with the enemy. Speaking of the enemy has lost a destroyer and they've lost a battleship. As a result, the scores are back to being closer to even. Now, both teams do have a cap. The enemy team is currently in the process of capping A, though, but they are being contested. The enemy team has actually lost yet another ship, a cruiser, so that's going to put Sirhan's team in the lead here. This is where some good coordination needs to take place. You have to start focusing fire, especially focusing fire on ships that are already fairly wounded. The enemy team did an excellent example of that by taking out the friendly Chapaya. Of course, now down ships, and the fact that Chapaya was the only thing preventing the enemy team from securing the A cap point means that the enemy team is up on points, and they're going to get another cap with which to get more points. In domination mode, you have to think about that. Capping wins games. It's not just about damage, it's not just about kills, it is about getting those points. Sirhan continuing to lob shots over this island here. He's currently undetected because the islands are in the way. They aren't blocking line of sight for him, at the very least, but they are blocking line of sight for the enemy. So the enemy not able to get shots back at him, but now, as we can see here, he passes out in front of the island. Now he's exposed as that gun detection range. But look at that, 4 citadels finishing off as the battleship Moskva there. Very excellent. And a double strike secured, burning down that Monarch, or that battleship there. That was a very good maneuver on his part. You'll notice that he had the high explosive loaded, took great effort to make sure that that battleship was burning down. Then, when he saw the opportunity with the armor piercing that broadside Moskva, he switched over to the AP and he landed shots right on it for that double strike. Now, the enemy team is still in the lead here, and again, they have 2 caps. Again, something you have to think about if you're playing in domination mode is capping does win games. The enemy team, though, really pushing here. They are winning. They have managed to take out more ships and more shots coming in here. Fortunately, again, not too bad. Enemy Hindenburg giving broadside, takes a citadel there. Now he's firing the armor piercing, but you can see the difference here. That armor piercing does a good amount of damage, but it doesn't do the most damage. It doesn't knock things out. And that's why switching back and forth, especially in German cruisers, between the high explosive and the armor piercing is such a critical skill that I keep needing to reinforce for people. Now currently the enemy team is in the lead and they hold 2 caps. What needs to happen here is some communication and some coordination. Most of Sirhan's team is actually over here at the C cap point with him, and as much as it seems appealing to go chase that lone isolated battleship, you have to avoid the urge. Don't go off chasing the lone battleship. You have to regroup, you have to go in together. Don't come in and fight a group of enemies one by one, you'll only die faster. Instead, Sirhan's doing the right thing here. He's getting himself turned around, and he's going to provide additional support with the Demines and the Iowa in an effort to take the B cap point. To complicate matters here, of course, in the battle, there is a cyclone active, which means spotting is very, very short. If you're in a cruiser like the Demines there, the Demonas, You have radar, you can pop that, and you can see ships all the way out at that 10 kilometers. It does extend your line of sight in a cyclone. If you're in a cruiser, however, that doesn't have it, or you didn't take it, you are limited to 8 kilometers. The good news, though, if you do get spotted in a cyclone at 8 kilometers, pretty much you're going to see whoever's spotting you unless it's a destroyer. And speaking of destroyers, the friendly destroyer there just took a huge, whopping amount of damage from somebody and nearly got himself killed. But the enemy has been taken out. So now there are no more destroyers on the enemy team to worry about. And Sirhan's team is pushing up and they are capping B. Now Sirhan is spotted here. There is an enemy battleship, a degrosser. Could be a serious problem. The degrosser gets his guns started, pointed Sirhan's direction. Here come the shots. The good news is it's a battleship, so battleship dispersion, RNGesus right there. The Hindenburg is a very narrow ship, very difficult to hit from a bow-on profile. Something to remember if you're playing this ship. Additionally, what was it that I said earlier about this ship being at home in close in your face, close quarter engagements? Sirhan is pushing in here because he can't really turn around and run away without exposing the broadside. But additionally, as you can see there, the shots not really penetrating that bow armor. Yes, they are doing damage, but they aren't doing maximum amounts of damage. More importantly, he's got torpedoes. And these torpedoes, they do a lot of damage. Plus, torps on both sides here. So as these torpedoes come in here, Sirhan's torpedoes connect, finish off that battleship. And here is the other battleship that was running away, that lone battleship he's coming back now. Sirhan has used both sets of torpedoes on his starboard side, but he does have port side torpedoes as well. And as we can see here, torpedoes at the ready. This battleship either doesn't know or has realized way too late that there are torpedoes on this cruiser, and 6 torpedoes to finish that battleship off, earning Sirhan the High Caliber and Confederate awards to go with his double strike. With both of those battleships dead, there are now just 3 cruisers and a battleship left on the enemy team. The Cyclone still is active right now, which is reducing that visibility. This is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing if you need to recover some health, you can sneak away nice and easy. It's a bad thing, though, because it means you're not able to get effective fire and coordinate effective fire with your teammates on the remaining enemies. However, the enemy team has just lost another ship, and now the points have shifted back in favor of Sirhan's team. More importantly, they have 2 caps, and the enemy doesn't seem to be particularly interested in pushing back into the B cap point and securing it. So Sirhan's team is going to continue to gain these points. Again, in domination mode, it's the points from these caps that ultimately help you win games. It's the points from these caps that help you secure solo warriors and help you weather losing a ship or 2. This Atago, being quite bold here, is taking a broadside, but of course we know when a cruiser with torpedoes turns a broadside like that, he's going to have torpedoes out in the water. Now, Sirhan has hydroacoustic available, and he should be using it. It should be up here, because he would be able to see any torpedoes that come in. Pops his hydroacoustic, and sure enough, there are the torpedoes from the Atago, turn broadside and get them away. Big hit there from the Missouri, costs a lot of health there. Fortunately, he turns at the last second, avoids getting citadel there, but does take a lot of regular penetration damage. Now, this Missouri is basically trying to run away. He's effectively backing up here. Not too much his team can do to help him, as he is isolated, and the other cruiser on his team nowhere to be seen. However, they have started capping the C cap point, so we can safely assume that the cruiser on the enemy team has gone all the way up there and is in no position to provide supporting fire to this Missouri. Now, this Missouri continues backing up here, again, probably forgetting that the Hindenburg has torpedoes. And these torpedoes, they're not the longest range, but they do have just enough range. And there is the Kraken unleashed for Sirhan, just leaving 1 ship left, and more importantly, it leaves the A cap wide open. Now, at this point, there's nothing that Sirhan or his team can do to prevent the enemy cruiser from capping at sea. They are entirely out of position to spot him and to put rounds on target. The cyclone is letting up, which means that the spotting ranges are going back to normal. But again, that's not going to make much of a difference here, as all of Sirhan's team is over here at the A cap point. The good news, though, is that they're able to get into the A cap point, and because they have such a points lead at this point, losing the C cap point, even briefly, isn't taking that big of a chunk out of their points. There's the enemy Hindenburg, and look at this. This guy parks broadside on, out in the open, trying to get shots off here. So, of course, Sirhan has his armor-piercing loaded, and you can see he's caused quite a bit of damage. It looks like he even knocked something out. The problem is, as he gets behind this island here, there's nobody, once more, who can spot this cruiser. But that's okay, though. Friendly Des Moines has a lot of health there. He's pushing up, and with any luck, he'll be able to cause some problems as well. So this cruiser, he's trying to make a break for it back behind that island, but that island's not quite tall enough just yet to block all of these shells, so some of them are going to make it over there. They do impact, and they do cause a citadel, so that's more damage. Now, of course, you can see that this cruiser is trying to play Ring Around the Rosie around that island, basically just going around in circles. And once again, of course, Sirhan and the rest of his team out of position, so it's really going to come down to that Des Moines, whether or not he's going to be able to take this guy out or not. Des Moines versus Hindenburg, I gotta give it to the Hindenburg because he's got torpedoes and he's got 6 of those guns, but of course, if the Des Moines playing it smart, and he's angled, and he's got his guns pointed around that corner, and that Hindenburg decides to come around broadside, the Memes is going to utterly wreck that guy. He does drop off detectability here briefly. It's not going to matter whether he comes around the corner or not. If he does, tries to be a hero, ends up dying in the process, his game is over and the team loses. If he stays back there any longer, Sirhan's team is going to cap out on points anyway, and there's only 2 minutes left in the game as it is. So, either way, the game is effectively over. His team is going to win. All they have to do is not die. But of course, the cruiser does come around the corner and meets a face full of armor-piercing shells from the Iowa and from the Des Moines, finishing him off. Overall, an excellently well-played game here. 276,977 damage done, almost 277,000. Confederate double strike, Dreadnought, Kraken Unleashed, and High Caliber. Top of the team for XP earned at 2,900 base XP. Next nearest guy on the team, 1,900 base XP, 1,000 XP lower. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you like the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me and the channel, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to have me take a look at or see featured on my channel, you can send it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play various games live, albeit intermittently, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.